Donald Trump is freaking out and he's rushing to his favorite judge, Judge Aileen Cannon, to try to get her to block turning over Volume 2 of Special Counsel Jack Smith's criminal case and investigation into Donald Trump. Volume 2 relates to Donald Trump bringing classified and top secret documents back to Mar-A-Lago, of which could be included nuclear secrets as well. Now, Special Counsel Jack Smith has been saying, hey, I'm here and I want to testify publicly before the Senate and the House of Representatives. I've got nothing to hide. I want to talk about the case that we were preparing. So let me testify publicly, because you've got MAGAs like Jim Jordan and MAGA Mike Johnson and James Comer and virtually all these other MAGAs who are lying about the investigation. And they're saying, oh, Jack Smith did unlawful FBI raids in Mar-A-Lago. And Jack Smith's like, put me under oath. If you want to talk crap on state regime media, which is known as Fox News, you could do it, but why don't you have me there live? And don't do it in some back room thing where you'll manipulate what I say. Let the American people see you, tough guys and tough gals. Ask me the question. And to do that, Volume 2 would need to be released, right? Because that includes a lot of the investigatory work and the findings. So Jack Smith says, let's put that out there. And in every single special counsel case in the history of the United States since special counsels, after the special counsel's investigation's over, they testify, they have access to the report, and there can be redactions, of course, if there's some classified information, and then they testify. We've seen this over and over again. When a special counsel was appointed into former President Biden, that individual testified and he had his report and the Republicans released it. So Jack Smith saying, let's do it. So Donald Trump, though, rushes to court on December 2nd. You see it right here. Donald Trump's motion for leave to participate as an amicus curiae. He wants to participate to basically tell Judge Aileen Cannon, here's what you need to do for me. And here's what he says in this, basically this emergency intervention motion. And the reason that he needs to intervene is because the cases, the United States government versus Walter Nauta, who is Donald Trump's bag man. And this was the criminal case against Donald Trump. So here's what it says. It says, on February 14, 2025, or it says on January 21st, 2025, Judge Cannon granted the emergency motion of Nauta and De Oliveira to preclude the release of Volume 2 of the final report. In the order, the court denied Trump's request to intervene in proceedings, but granted his alternative, unopposed request to participate as an amicus to challenge the release of Volume 2. Trump's amicus is docketed wherever, and counsel for Trump appeared on his behalf at the court's January 17, 2025 hearing. On February 14, 2025 and February 24th, respectively, American Oversight and the Knight Institute moved to intervene in the district court proceedings and seek dissolution and or rescission of the court's order, because the case was gone. The Knight Institute also seeks an order from the court directing the clerk to publicly file a copy of Volume 2 on the public docket. The remaining parties to the litigation, the United States, Nauta, and De Oliveira, filed joint status reports on March 14th and December 1st, 2025, indicating their positions with respect to the release of Volume 2, and filed their respective briefs in opposition to the pending motions on March 24th and March 14th. Remember those dates, March 24th and March 14th. Trump hereby moves for leave to participate in the proceedings as an amicus, for the limited purpose of reaffirming and incorporating by reference his prior legal arguments to the court, as well as those made by co-defendants Nauta and De Oliveira, that Volume 2 of Jack Smith's final report should not be made public. Trump's limited participation in the proceedings will not cause delay or prejudice any party, as this request is consistent with the court's prior decision to grant Trump's amicus status on January 21st, 2025. So you may be saying, Ben, March motions were filed. That's a long time ago. Or January. What has Judge Cannon been doing? Nothing. She's been sitting on this and refusing to issue an order, violating her judicial ethics by not acting upon these motions. Why? She would want this to delay this forever. So her bosses at the 11th Circuit, they had to intervene, and they told Cannon, you have to do something. You have to make a decision. I just want you to observe Judge Cannon right there, delaying, not fulfilling her job as a judge. The 11th Circuit has to get involved. Then Trump says, keep it secret. So I ask you, who are the ones hiding things here? Let's bring in Harry Litman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, the Talking Feds Substack, and the Talking Feds podcast. This is where I say, Harry, throw aside Democrat, Republican, what you think of the issues, okay? Jack Smith is saying, I want to go under oath in public in front of the world. The MAGAs are saying, we want to talk about you on Fox. We don't really want to do that. Judge Cannon's not making the report public. And Trump saying, you know what? I'd rather post on my social media platforms than actually let the American people see the report and judge for themselves. To me, that tells me everything, Harry. What do you make of this all?
To me, that tells me everything as well, Ben, but it is breathtakingly hypocritical and not to mention directly contrary to the public interest. So let's review the bidding just a little bit. They come in and squelch a prosecution that by all accounts, said January 6th also, but there were some vis-a-vis Trump, hard, potentially constitutional issues. This stuff, he's not president and he's just completely not just absconding with, but obstructing, refusing to give all the documents. It's a red-handed kind of crime, and were it not that Aileen Cannon were on the case, it might even have proceeded all the way through before the election. But in any event, so step number one, completely squelch and make that case go away. But as you say, this is universal. No really exception to this I can think of in American history. Once a case is finished, so there's no longer the argument that the parties are somehow going to be prejudiced, the national interest becomes paramount in knowing what the hell happened. And that interest doesn't diminish. If anything, it expands as a result of Trump's getting away with it or not having to face trial because of the happenstance of the election. So think about JFK assassination. Think about 9/11. Think about Iran-Contra. These are things, in addition to doing justice, where we pay huge attention to the individual and are punctilious not to go astray of the Constitution. Once the case is done, then it's time to serve the very important purpose for the people, the democracy, history of finding out just what the hell happened. What did the President of the United States actually do? And what is on the other side of that? Nothing. Nauta, De Oliveira, Trump, they are all off the hook definitively. So why should the American people not know? You can try to construe some kind of, individual, small-minded idea. Well, we don't want to air their dirty laundry, but that's exactly what we want to do. If they're not going to be convicted, we want to know what the hell happened. And I'll just add, it's a sort of a three-step dance here. First, squelch the prosecution. Two, if you can, squelch the public record. I have no doubt if they could, it would be like the last scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they take the report and take it all the way back to the most obscure shelf in the government catacombs so no one could see it. But then three, advance your own completely inconsistent and, I gotta say, completely bogus account of what happened. And that's the love-in with the, as he proclaimed when he pardoned everyone, the terrible actual overkill by the Biden administration, for a crime that we all saw take place with our own eyes. This is something, out of Orwell, but even the best Orwellian dictators would have trouble taking crime we all saw, somehow whitewashing, that's January 6th, but also everything we learned about Mar-A-Lago, trying to make it go away and substitute a false narrative. That's what we're talking about. it would be one thing. Aileen Cannon thought it was one thing when the charges were still pending, and you had to think about fairness to now that they all have Era Trump. You do not have to do that anymore. And they are, it'd be very hard to think of a district court judge who would somehow ignore the deep historical democratic exigency for the people to know, unless that judge is Aileen Cannon. We'll see. But one final point. The 11th Circuit already was fairly fed up with Judge Cannon, I think, and there's reason to believe before. Now, as you say, she sat on this motion forever. If she does give him what he wants, and let me say right now, he's just asked to participate. But if she does say, I'm not going to release this, we'll see what the 11th Circuit does with it. Because what are we talking about? The actual historical account of what happened. And as you say, Jack Smith is bring it on. I'll tell you everything, as long as DOJ doesn't then turn around and try to put me in jail. And it's the Trump folks who are saying, no, this has to be hidden. There's not even a reason in this motion, by the way. Presumably, they'll make one if she lets them participate as amicus. So it's all as hypocritical as can be, even for this crowd.
Yeah, it was really about Trump letting Cannon know what he wants her to do and for her to be obedient, whether they grant his status as an amicus or not. He told her, she's like, I got my orders. I think that we would expect her to indefinitely block the release of Volume 2. She's going to always do what Trump wants. Then it'll go to the 11th Circuit. I think the 11th Circuit will order it be released with redactions, to which she will then try to get involved in helping him drag it out with the redaction process and try to extend it for about 6 to 9 months on redaction stuff. And she'll probably say, in 2 months, I would like to see an order submitted from side one with proposed redactions. Then in 2 months after that, you can respond with your counter proposed redactions. And then I'll hold a hearing in 6 months from now. So to me, her next plan is that, unless the 11th Circuit really gives a mandate that says this report's getting, and I think that this is what needs, when an amicus is filed with the 11th Circuit, they need to flag, look what she's going to do. There needs to be a date certain that you give in your mandate back to her about here's when it gets released by. Judge, you have until this day to agree on the redactions. Because if you leave it open-ended, she's going to extend the deadline for years using procedural machinations. That's what I see. What do you think? Final word.
Yeah. Final word. Let me move back to Aileen Cannon, a name we hadn't heard in a while. Because, right, we had on very good authority, Ben, that she was really reviled and completely disrespected and considered just an embarrassment by the district court that she is a member on. But I think she had to hope that, well, Trump rewards loyalists. You know, that this, my head's still reeling from the pardon he gave yesterday, and Hernandez, the ex-president, walking out after writing that incredibly slavish letter to Trump. Anyway, that's how he rolls. And you know, she's got to still really be hoping she gets a bump up. And because I think she's got a really rough situation serving with people on a district court who just really have no respect for her at all. But if she goes up to the 11th Circuit, and I think, you know, even she would hope to be considered for a short list on the to the high court, you know, we'll see. So far, the story of this term, especially with pardons, has been that Trump's most lawless, obnoxious, vicious associates just get rewarded. And by the way, where is Tom Homan in that $50,000? But anyway, they just get rewarded, and she was all in on that from the start. And I think she really has to hope that comes through, because she's in a situation now where her peers, you know, I think really have no respect for her at all. As well, they shouldn't, after all the hijinks she pulled in the first Trump term and with Mar-A-Lago. prosecution.
Everybody subscribe to Harry Litman's YouTube channel. It's called Talking Feds. Subscribe to the Talking Feds Substack, Talking Feds YouTube, and Talking Feds podcast. Thanks, Harry.
Hey, thanks, Ben.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.